Hi everyone, and welcome to the Resume Building Workshop created by the Employment Services team at the YMCA of Kitchener-Waterloo. In this video, we'll guide you through the ins and outs of effective resume building so you can market your skills successfully to employers. So, what is the purpose of your resume? It's a summary of your qualifications, such as your work experience, skills, education, training, and your achievements. It's a self-marketing tool, which helps you to stand out to an employer. It connects you to an interview by convincing a recruiter that you might be the right fit. And it's the first impression that you can make on an employer, so we have to make sure that it's as effective as it can be. This might be a surprise, but it's rare that you can use the same resume for every job and company that you apply to. Your resume will be a work in progress because you need to keep it up to date and change it according to the company's needs. Your most up-to-date experience, volunteer work, education, and certifications like SmartServe or First Aid should be included. The information on your resume should explain to the employer why you are the right fit. Remove information that is not related to the job and explain your experience and skills in a way that explains why you're a good candidate for this new position. The easiest way to target your resume to a job is to look at the job posting and see what skills and experience the employer is specifically looking for. Because your resume is a marketing tool, it should be tidy, well organized and formatted, and easy to read. Employers do not read every word on every resume that they receive, so being concise and using point form is important. If you print your resume to deliver in person, it should be on good quality paper without stains or folds. Deliver it in a full-size envelope if possible. Make sure you use correct grammar and spelling at all times. Come back to your resume after writing it so that you can review with fresh eyes, or ask someone to look through it before sending to an employer so they can catch any mistakes that you might have missed. A resume should not be longer than 1 or 2 pages in length. If you've not been working for long, or if many of your experiences had the same responsibilities, then 1 page will be plenty. If you're in a more professional field, or if you've been working for a decade or more, 2 pages is probably more appropriate to capture all of your experience. You should use action words to describe your achievements. For example, rather than having a point that says customer service, you should say provided friendly customer service. You can also talk about awards that you earned, sales targets you achieved, problems you solved, or other personal accomplishments. Do not use I or me statements. A resume is written using the passive voice, so we make statements such as conducted health and safety inspections rather than saying I conducted health and safety inspections. Resumes are objective, so we need to use fact-based statements rather than statements about your judgments or feelings. Here is an example of the difference that presentation and formatting can make on your resume. Some of the details on these 2 resumes might be difficult for you to read, but the wording isn't important at the moment. What I'd like to show you here is the difference that formatting makes to the readability and appeal in your resume. Both of these 2 resumes have the same essential categories: name and contact information at the top, then highlighted skills, then your work experience, education and training, and an optional mention about your references at the bottom. Both of these resumes also contains exactly the same writing and information. But which one do you find easier to read through? Which one is more appealing? We want to catch the employer's eye so they're convinced to read more about you. We also want to show professionalism and organization, and we're demonstrating those skills when we present a well-crafted document. When preparing a resume, you need to understand what skills you have to offer. It helps to look at job postings similar to the jobs that you've held in the past, or postings for jobs that you're now interested in, to get some ideas about the responsibilities or skills that you can include in your description of your own experiences. Be creative and talk about different kinds of skills, such as software you can use, languages you can speak, or how well you work in a team. Understand what the employer is looking for. Again, the job posting is your biggest resource in choosing which of your skills are most in demand. You can also look at the company's website, if they have one, to understand their values and vision. Relate your skills and experience to the employer's needs. If they have asked for someone who is compassionate and good with people, make it clear in your resume why you're that sort of person. For every skill the employer requests in their posting, ask yourself if you have that skill and make sure that you've mentioned it somewhere in the resume. Let's take a closer look at the example resume from earlier, which already has our nice formatting done. Now comes the important part, making sure the employer or recruiter knows what you have to offer as an employee. To do this, we need to include what skills you have and what you did on the job. But it's important to phrase these in a way that the employer can understand, and that shows off your skills in the best possible way. First, we'll use the highlighted skills section as an example. The skills listed here are all fine. As long as they're accurate, it would not be wrong to use any of these statements on your resume. But how can we improve them to really stand out? To start with, we don't want to use statements without context, such as good customer service, the first point here. This is not phrased as an action or accomplishment and feels subjective. We can be more specific by changing this to say 5 years of progressive customer service experience, which highlights just how much experience you have and the fact that you've taken on more responsibility over time. Both of these will be attractive to an employer. Next, these transferable skills related to time management are good, and we don't really need to change them. But to make sure that it's a complete statement, let's just add the word individual here. The same advice goes for the next point. This statement is fine, but it's a little bit subjective. It sounds like you're giving your opinion of yourself here. So let's just add the word demonstrated to the start of the sentence, which means that you've shown this skill in your previous jobs and you could give examples to prove it. Once again, this next statement doesn't have an action verb, and it doesn't have a lot of clear context. It would be stronger if we got more specific. Here, I'll choose to focus on cash handling experience because we can also talk about returns and merchandising at a later point in the resume. Then, we can also think about adding additional points. Consider the languages that you speak, whether you have any training, licenses, certifications, or expertise that the employer is looking for, or any unique or interesting experiences. I've chosen to talk about multi-line phone systems here because they're common in a lot of workplaces, so it's a good skill to have. We can use the same general strategy to change the statements in the employment experience section too. Take a look at the descriptions under each experience. What do you think about them? What would you change? There are no I or me statements. Everything is grammatically correct and in past tense form. However, there is definitely more we could say to catch an employer's attention. You should also notice that the cities where this person worked are not listed on this resume. This is a common oversight. Please make sure that the locations are listed for your jobs. If it was in Canada, list the city and the province. If outside of Canada, list the city and country, or just the country. Now, look at these potential changes. For some of these points, we've added more detail. For the receptionist, we changed answered phones to answered customer inquiries by phone and in person, which feels more professional. And for other points, we combined information together to create more complete points. For the customer service representative, the points about helping customers and making sales were combined into one. And we added a statement about an achievement there too, consistently hitting quota. These performance-based statements are a great way to boost your resume. Think about a problem that you've solved for an employer, or an award that you received for good customer service, a project that you managed, a task that you mastered, a contract that you secured, or some other measurable achievement that you can talk about here. There are two main formats of resumes, chronological and functional. Which format you choose will depend on your own situation. The chronological resume highlights your chronological work history. This is the most common format of resume, which you're probably already familiar with. This can highlight the progression of your career and the responsibilities that you've taken on, your relevant experiences, your achievements and successes, and your good job retention. Therefore, the chronological resume is a good choice for people who don't have many gaps in their work history, or who tend to stay in the same job for a year or more. It is also good for people looking for jobs that are similar to what they've done in the past. The functional resume, on the other hand, highlights your skills. It groups your different types of skills, such as technical knowledge or communication skills, and highlights what you have to offer. It can also highlight skills and knowledge that you might have gained in a college or university program if you haven't worked in that field yet, but you do have great skills to offer. It can put emphasis on skills and not career history. Therefore, the functional resume is good for people with no work experience or no experience in their field, people with gaps in employment, or people who have not retained jobs for a long time. It can also be good for people who have worked in a variety of occupations or who are making big changes in their occupation. So, let's look at these two formats side by side. To the right is the chronological resume we've been working with so far, that we've already formatted and added more detail to. To the left is a functional resume. For the purpose of showing when these two resumes are most useful, I've added a university degree to the left, but have not added any other work experience. I'm sure you can already see a bit of what differs between the two documents, but let's quickly review them both. You can see that, of course, the header with the name and contact information are still at the top. The highlighted skills sections are there, although the content has been changed. Employment experience is here, although it's been moved down on the functional resume and the job descriptions have been removed. We're strongly de-emphasizing these jobs while still showing that this individual has work experience. The education sections are relatively the same. Now, let's focus on what's different between these resumes. You can see the objective statement at the top of the chronological resume. It's been removed from the functional, but that's not because it belongs on one style but not the other. In fact, it is optional for either style and can be removed if you simply don't have enough space. The same is true for the statement about references. You can add it to both or neither accordingly. So in that case, what is the real difference between the functional and chronological styles? As discussed before, the most important difference is emphasis. While the chronological style that we're familiar with is focused on job experience and responsibilities, the functional resume is focused on skills. For this example, where we have included a Bachelor of Engineering, the work experiences the person has remain the same, but the functional resume allows us to show more of that person's relevant skills and to break these down into categories that make it easier for an employer to browse through them and understand at a glance what this job seeker is capable of. The categories of skills chosen should be a good blend of what you have to offer. If you've just finished school, it's easiest to look back at your program's brochure or course listing and to pull some highlights from the wording that they've used, and of course, to look at job postings and see what you should advertise about yourself. This job seeker can choose what order they put these categories in, or even change the categories and the skills that they choose in order to match each job and company. As we mentioned before, the employment experience is minimized and placed at the bottom on the functional resume to draw less attention to it because it's not relevant to this individual's job goal. However, we still have included the job titles to show that they have experience working. Likewise, we have also added a new section for programming languages. Dedicating a section to specialized or technical knowledge, such as this, helps it to stand out and makes it very easy to see the most important qualifications at a glance. We'll talk again about special sections like this in a few moments. Before we finish our comparison, I want to point out that this person can still use their chronological resume to search for survival jobs, even though they haven't included the most recent education. It's completely okay to omit experience or education if it's not related to your job goal. Not everything you've ever done is on your resume, so you can be selective in what you choose to put there, so long as it is honest and correct. So, in this case, the chronological resume is being used for entry-level or survival jobs, and not jobs in the person's field, whereas the functional resume is being used to enter into their chosen profession. For many of you watching, it would be the entire opposite situation. For many people who are new to Canada, or who are re-entering the workforce after a long absence such as parental leave, the detailed list of their experiences that would show on a chronological resume will show that they're highly qualified. A functional resume could be used to minimize those qualifications and avoid seeming overqualified in order to focus those skills on what they would bring to a survival job or to a new profession. Just like the section dedicated to programming languages in our sample resume, there might be some information that would be valuable to include on your resume, but which is difficult to fit into the traditional categories. It's completely acceptable to add additional sections. The below suggestions are common examples, but you're not limited just to these choices. Sections for trainings or safety certifications might be helpful for nurses, tradespeople, or anyone else who needs up-to-date training. A list of published works or academic research might be useful for authors, researchers, scientists, or instructors. Your technical knowledge, such as in computing or engineering. Awards, licenses, or professional memberships could be useful to teachers, researchers, or engineers. A link to a website, LinkedIn profile, or e-portfolio could be useful for business people, people in marketing, or artists. And finally, a professional summary. This can be added at the top of your resume where the objective section was found on our chronological resume. This can be as brief or as detailed as you like and gives a summary of your accomplishments and your goals. There is some information that people commonly include on their resumes, especially internationally, which are not appropriate for job applications in Ontario. These include your religion and beliefs, country of origin or citizenship, marital status, whether you have children, your age or date of birth, your social insurance number, your photograph, or references. For some of these categories, your experience, previous employers, or other details might reveal what your beliefs or what your country of origin are, and that's fine. However, we do not want to list these as separate categories, like a biography. However, for other points, like your social insurance number, you should never include this information in your resume or your cover letter. Your social insurance number must be kept private for your security and to protect you from fraud. An employer is not allowed to request this information until they offer you a job. References should also be saved until an interview, for the privacy of those people whose information you're sharing. Finally, your photo will not be included on any application unless it's for modeling or acting or a similar job. So, let's put it all together. Look at the resume to the right, or consider your own resume. Is it easy to read? Has it been formatted? Does it exceed 1 page? And if so, is there justification for this extra space? Will you be printing it on white or neutral colored paper? Do you have a resume header with correct contact information? Are the sections correctly titled, organized, and clear? Have you checked spelling, grammar, and punctuation? Have all mistakes been corrected? Have action verbs been used for every point? Are the statements short and easily understood? Can the reader easily understand your skills? Is information like dates and company names correct? Is all information relevant and related to the targeted job? And has your resume been proofread and corrected by someone else? If you answered yes to these questions, then you're probably ready to start using your resume to begin applying for positions. Congratulations! That's it for this video. If you need assistance with perfecting your resume, don't hesitate to contact the YMCA of Kitchener-Waterloo's Employment Services team at the email or either of the phone numbers listed below. We look forward to hearing from you.